Overall, this term, I think I've really come to terms with my model, both for collaborative work as well as personal work, more than anything. Something I touched upon in my new genres report was that I've always been told that I'm a lateral thinker, but I've never given those lateral thoughts layers or kind of a hierarchy. I've always believed that I can answer everything by kind of cramming everything together and creating these large questions out of smaller projects. But I've realised that that's one way I can work, but then again, how is that work generated? Like, where does it come from? My first year was all about creativity and like doing things here at the college. But my second year, I've made it more of a questioning year. I question things. I'm asking myself why I do things. I'm presenting less research visually, less research written as well. I'm doing a lot less written work. But what I'm actually containing within my process boards are more crucial and critical parts of my research. I'm summing up 2 hours of research with one image and a small kind of description, because I'm much more into talking about my research process, broadcasting it, and that's come with export radio. With projects like Net Excavation, where I essentially live stream me searching the internet for 2 hours. I talk about my work, I present it, I perform the act of research as a ritual. And for me, that's been crucial to understand that there are other ways of talking about your work rather than just over-explaining and expecting people to fit everything together. And this has been really attractive to people, especially with export radio. I've brought loads of people together from different backgrounds, and just I want to know about them and their research proposals and how they do things and what they listen to and who they talk to. And if we're so disconnected in quarantine like we have been, now's our chance to realise as practitioners that the one way we can't compromise is by collaborating. And I've been trying to do that with my thoughts as well as other people. My favourite part of this term was probably the generation of my drawn model and realising words like habitus and the term cultural capital and the layering of the internet. The idea that we're hunter-gatherers on the net has been interesting to me too, because last year was all about neo-shamanism and tapping into the ritualistic and the magical within my thoughts. And this term has been more about how my physical interest in running and climbing, which was very well documented in my first year, is married and related to my internet side and my love of anonymity and 4chan and memes and tiers of the internet, like the Digital Garden, blog spaces, which you can really observe with artists like Guthrie Lonergan, Claude Klossky, Heath Bunting. And the idea that this net art interest is actually from a performative, broadcasted side as well. I want to find these lost, forgotten relics of the net and put them into the physical world. And that is me taking something which doesn't exist and then, or hasn't been seen in a very long time, and then through looking at it and then printing it out or talking about it to an audience, I then give it new life. And one of the thoughts I've been having most is that how can we move the internet onwards if we don't have anything after the internet? It's kind of like the last thing we have, because when people were inventing the internet and net art and art on the web, we had video games and we had glitches and we had hackers before that, from Quake to you name it, TV hacking, broadcast hacking. And then we saw the internet and we did what we did then in the 90s and 80s and just assigned that kind of anarchy to the net. But now we can't do that because we have the net and we want to move on from the net. But we can't because we just have the one platform. So the one way that we can actually fix this is by thinking about the internet and the physical and bringing the net to the physical world to make it more relevant and to move onwards, because we've been on this thing now on the net for 100, for a year now, non-stop. So this is a break and a pause in my practice where I'm not writing and theorizing about stuff and being philosophical. It's rather taking action on these thoughts that I've had. Instead of just asking questions like people are doing now, I feel like it's an experimental practitioner's duty to not do that stuff and instead to talk about it and to actually bring it to people instead of just asking the audience to sum up their thoughts with more questions, because that would be a compromise and I don't want to compromise. So next term I'm unsure about what I really want to do overall. If anything, I want to keep researching, keep showing people my research and create power objects instead of artifacts, create stuff which represents research, stuff that represents my model, and as well as that carry on obviously running and climbing and doing the physical stuff. But depending on if we have a physical show or not, a lot of work is going to be going into Export Radio to keep that running and to give a good set of research and archive footage to the year under us, the first years, to then give it to them in time for our graduation. We also have the website, so lots of work will be going into the site. Visuals, we're going to be doing a lot more hand printing with the stuff we find for export. So splitting my practice into two projects, the export and the new genre situated practice, has been very beneficial. And I mentioned this in my Export Radio proposal, but it helps me kind of step back from situated practice and do lots of admin, outreach, graphic stuff which I'm interested in. So then I'm not always thinking about models or always thinking about ideas and how I'm going to broadcast these internet relics that I find. So I want to go into 2021 balanced and as balanced as I am right now.